Okay. Today is March 26th, 2023. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Robert Bryan in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Okay.
There's my grandpa.
That's your grandpa?
Yeah. And grandma. His name is Robert Bryan.
Yep.
And, you know, he was World War I.
Mm-hmm.
And,
in the Navy.
Yeah, he was a Texas kiddo, born and raised in Texas, and I guess he, well, you know, beat the Kaiser, plus join the Navy and see the world.
Yes.
He was pretty adventurous.
What ship was he on, do you know?
The U.S.S. Chew. Yeah, it's all in there. That's a story he wrote of the first third of his life.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of fun.
Hey, that's neat.
Yeah, it's got his whole Navy experience in there.
Yeah. Robert, where were you born?
San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio.
And that brings us to these people here.
Who are they?
That's my mom and dad.
Okay.
That's Robert Channing and Robert Channing Bryan and Martha Bryan.
Okay.
And he was in the Army Air Corps. He gave psychological tests. That's his whole service was there in San Antonio giving psychological exams to the Air Corps folks. And so then we get down to me.
When's your birthday?
January the 17th, 45. I was born there at Fort Sam Houston.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's your father's name?
Robert Channing Bryan.
And your mother?
She's Martha Bryan.
What was her maiden name?
Sharp.
Sharp.
Yeah. And they were sweet, gentle people, very gentle. And they were both social workers. And so they're very Christian. And
How long did you stay in San Antonio after you were born?
oh, I don't know, but probably less than a year.
Okay, then where'd the family move?
Back to Dallas.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Is that where your parents were from?
Yeah, they were from Dallas. And
After the Army, what kind of work did your father do?
he worked for the YMCA.
Okay.
He was a director for YMCA's in Ardmore, Oklahoma City, Tyler, Texas, and then into Albuquerque, New Mexico, camp director, you know, up at Jemez Springs. And then the last thing he did was he was the manager of a Methodist retreat at Sacramento, New Mexico, Sacramento Methodist Assembly.
Okay.
And that was his favorite thing that he did. He really felt good with that one.
Where did you start school?
I'm sorry?
Where did you start school?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Oh, Dallas. Yeah. And we moved to Ardmore. I was like second grade, I guess. And then we moved to Oklahoma City, and I was in the 5th grade, and finished high school at Oklahoma City, and then went to Oklahoma State.
What year did you graduate high school?
63.
63?
Yes.
From which high school?
John Marshall High School.
John Marshall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Oh, Muriel Daniels.
Muriel Daniels.
Yeah, she was journalism. And my other favorite was H. Oliver Roberts.
H.
Oliver Roberts.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a Muskogee person. Yeah, and he taught speech.
Now, was this at John Marshall?
Yep.
Okay. Now, why were they your favorite?
Oh, well, she was a pretty vivacious young person, and She made journalism interesting. You know, I hate to say it, but she'd sit up on the front of her desk with her legs like this. And oh,
With her legs crossed.
what an attractive young lady, you know. So, and Mr. Roberts was a middle-aged gentleman already. He was a gray-haired gentleman, kind of gray, wavy hair, and he had a withered arm, you know. But he was fantastic for speech and debate and all that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. You played sports in high school?
I did. In junior high, I tried football, didn't like it. Basketball, baseball, didn't like any of those. So my sports were like cross country, track, and swimming. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have a good team?
Oh yeah. We did good. I got a few medals, and we had state champs on my team. I wasn't.
So after high school, you went to Oklahoma State?
I did. Yeah.
What'd you study?
I cast it around and sort of followed the family track, and I seemed to have a facility for the social sciences, so that's where I wound up, the social sciences.
Did you live on campus or off campus?
First year in the dorm and the other years in the community.
Which dorm you live in?
Christ, I can't remember the name of it.
Was it Cordell?
No.
No.
Can't remember.
Okay.
Can't remember the name
Yeah,
of
the
it.
big ones were Cordell and Bennett Hall. And
That's it.
Bennett
Yeah,
Hall.
Bennett Hall. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you got your degree in social studies?
Sociology,
Okay.
actually, and that's where I met Cheryl. We married. Our last semester we married.
And
Well, I had a teacher, John Hodgins, that was the introduction to social work, and he was a World War II vet. And he had lost a lot of his sight, you know, from a war injury, and I felt good with him, and he took an interest in me, and so I said, well, social work's doing something positive. That's what the parents were into, you know, and so I said, well, I'll do that. And I asked him for help, and he had a very good friend, Maxwell Cook, Colonel Maxwell Cook, that had been a social worker in the military, and he was down there at the University of Texas. And so they communicated, and sure enough, I applied and got accepted down there for the master's program in social work.
in Austin?
Down there at Austin,
Okay.
UT.
Now, what year did you get your degree at OSU?
Oh, let's see when that was. Seems like it was at the end of '67.
Okay.
We both had an extra semester, you know, so we did that fall semester. That was the end of '67.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's,
When did you and Cheryl get married?
let's see, November the 17th, November the 17th of '67.
67.
Yep.
Now, where did you meet Cheryl?
Well, my roommate was like sailing. They had a sailing club. He's in the sailing club. He meets an instructor in the arts and humanities. And so he says, well, they got a job over there posing for the art students. And I said, well, I'd had different, you know, restaurant, library, different things I was doing while I was at OSU. And I said, well, that sounds like my kind of job. You just be there and you get paid for nothing. I think I can handle that. So sure enough, she was in the art class, and that's how we met.
So you went to Austin.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And started the graduate school and got 2 semesters into it, and got the draft notice. And so I had my appeal, let me finish my program here, and certainly got denied right quick.
When were you drafted?
Well, let's see, that would have been, let's see, all right, 68, it was in the summer of 68.
Okay.
So, I said, well, I better talk to the recruiters and see about my options. And so they gave me a battery of tests, and they said, well, if you go for 4 years, we will send you to the language school at Monterey, California. You can be a translator. You can be, learn a language. And to somebody that's 23 or something, a year seemed like a whole lot extra time. And what do you got for 3 years? Well, if you go for 3 years, we'll guarantee you a school. Well, what do you got? And so I said, okay, you are guaranteed one of 3 choices. One of those 3 you will get. And so I said, well, social work tech, neuropsych tech, what else you got? They said, well, what about operating room technician, surgical nurse? And I said, well, I'm sure I'll get one of the other 2, so go ahead and put it down. So, of course, which one came up? The surgical nurse.
Where'd you go for basic training?
Fort Bliss.
That's right to the basic.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, Lord, I was up on the side of that mountain. Were you up there?
Logan Heights?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, Christ almighty.
Tell me about basic.
Oh, well, I really wasn't a real good fit for the military because I don't like people telling me what to do. And I was kind of a strange individual, borderline autistic, and some attention deficit and things like that. Anyway, the point being, I was not happy to be there. I like the calisthenics real well. I did good with calisthenics. I didn't like the low crawl in them old rocky pits. I got, big abrasions all over, and they never healed up the whole time I was there. But no, it was an experience.
What type of training did you have?
What, basic?
Yes.
Oh, in basic? Well, I don't know, all the stuff you do, you shoot, and I did okay with shooting, and and all the stuff, those pugil sticks and whatever, and in basic, just get people where they'll obey, basically get people lined out where they're going to do what you tell them to do.
Did you go on bivouac?
Oh yeah, out in the desert in the sand. Yeah, I had my first wedding anniversary out there in the sand, and she sent me a piece of our wedding cake that she had in the freezer, and it got there on the very day. So there I'm in the pup tent eating wedding cake.
Tell me about your drill instructors.
Oh, well, Drill Sergeant Jones, Sergeant Bobu, and Sergeant Charlie Tintman. Well, Jones was looking to go to school and study sociology, so he was kind of interested in me, and I was just trying to stay in the shell there and get through it. And Bobu was kind of a flamboyant character, and Charlie Tintman was a big, strong black guy, and had this beautiful Pontiac, brand new Pontiac car. I guess it was his re-up car. you know, and he'd pull it up in there and get a bunch of us to shine it up for him, you know. And he'd been busted. They were on the shooting range and somebody did something wrong and he whacked him over the head with that that paddle, you know. Yeah. So he'd been busted, but didn't seem to bother him any.
How long basic last?
Oh, well, 3 months. I was finishing up. It was Christmas time and people got their orders and they're leaving and I'm still there waiting and I guess I was about the last one to leave out of there. I got to go home for a couple of weeks and then had orders to show up to Fort Sam Houston for the MTC, medical training.
MTC?
Yeah, Medical Training Corps, I guess it is.
Okay.
And it's the basic field medic training and that was like 3 months.
Tell me about that.
Well, it was good. I did good with that, and well, my bunkmate was the colonel there. He liked each class to have a little band and march between classrooms with the band, right, going with the drums and whatever. And so my bunkmate Rick Adair, his name was, and he was the snare drummer. And so the bass drummer got recycled for some reason. I guess he got sick, got recycled. And Rick says, "You want to get out of KP? You want to get out of what do you call it when you go and pick up everything?
Police call?
Police call. You want to get out of police call? You want to get out of that?" And I said, "Well, yeah." He says, "Well, you're going to be the bass drummer." I said, "I've never played the bass drum." He said, "I'll show you what to do. It won't take a minute." So we get out there and he said, "Okay, march. Okay, every time your left foot hits the ground, hit the drum." So it was fun. We did that, and in the morning, you know, you'd be going out, and the whole cadence would be real slow. Mm-hmm. And in the evening, when they're going to turn you loose, come back, and the cadence was real fast.
What's your most vivid memory of your medical training?
Oh, well, tell you the truth, it was what do you call it? Field AIT or something. Anyway, it was after the MTC it was MFSS, Medical Field Service School, mm-hmm. and that was the actual surgery training, and that was about 3 months, and then the last of it was several months on the job actual, mm-hmm. you know. And so
was that in Brooke Hospital or?
No, I got sent to Fort Hood, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it was like, wow, I better pay attention. This is important. This is people's lives and their health. Help me focus, mm-hmm. you know. So it was good, and I did good. Mm-hmm. And then they sent me to Fort Hood there, and the most vivid memory was I was standing there kind of being autistic, you know. When you're in your sterile gown and gloves, mm-hmm. there's a position like this that so you don't accidentally contaminate with, yes. you know. So I'm standing there like a statue, and the little nurse comes in there, and I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like, "Get your ass in gear." Do something. So I started unwrapping the sterile packages, you know, and getting ready for the procedure. I think that was my most vivid memory.
I'd like to ask, were basic and your medical training geared toward Vietnam?
Well, yeah, and of course everybody was going. Well, an interesting thing happened. They had lost my records. You know, back then there wasn't that much computers, and so I showed up to Fort Sam and they didn't have my records. And I had one piece of paper, you know. So they said, well, don't worry, we'll find him. So all through that MTC, no records and no pay. And then at the end of MTC, they were going to send me to Vietnam as a field medic. And I said, well, you know, I've given y'all an extra year for this school here. And I'd kind of like to go. So they eventually found the records. And why am I telling you this? Anyway.
It was geared toward Vietnam.
I almost went to Vietnam,
yes.
Right there. But of course I didn't want to. I didn't feel like getting killed or maimed for dictator kleptocrats, you know, and that was the way I felt about it. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
So anyway, I completed Fort Hood.
Yeah.
And they sent me to Fort Benning, Georgia.
What did your wife think about you being sent to Vietnam?
Well, I don't remember her saying. I got to take her to San Antonio. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. And I got her a little apartment, because I thought you could. Mm-hmm. And they said, no, the company commander goes, no, I said, well, they say it's up to your discretion. And I'm not a child, you know, I'm one of the oldest trainees you got. And he says, well, I'm about to get out of this service and I'm not going to jeopardize it for you or anybody else. So you are not going to live off base. And so then, I don't know if it's him or somebody else told me, well, what you can do, just after you get turned loose at 5 p.m., go home off base, and you can stay there, but you got to come back to be in your cot, you know, you're in your bunk at night. So that's what we did for 3 months, and then for the second part, for the MFSS, they went ahead and let me live at home, and you know, and so she had fun. She went to the art center on Fort Sam. Mm-hmm. And she met a kindred spirit, a girl named Barb Loken, who's an artist. And so they were doing a lot of creativity during all this time when I was. And then when we went to Fort Hood, we had a little apartment in the floodplain, and had a torn screen door, and it was, you know, it was reasonable. And the guy says, well, if a big old fat raccoon comes in here at night, said, don't worry about it, said, that's my son's pet, he used to live. But we never did see the raccoon, you know. So then I had to have a car to go to I had borrowed a car from my father, I had to give it back. Mm-hmm. So when the sergeants there at Fort Hood had a big old Pontiac, big old rusty thing, big as a box car, and he says, well, I'll sell you that for $200 and I'll help you make it run. So we got that big old car and we took off for Fort Benning, Georgia, and I was assigned to a tent hospital. It was like a MASH, mm-hmm. just there in reserve. And so it's just like maintain all your stuff and be ready. And then I got TDY and went to the real hospital, and up at the real hospital and did the thing, you know.
At Fort Benning?
Yeah. Fort Benning, Georgia.
What did you do in the hospital?
Scrub and circulator is the basic two things of an operating room technician. And the scrub is the one that scrubs up. Mm-hmm. He gets on the sterile gown and gloves, you know, and assists the physician. And I like things neat and orderly and all lined up. You got to have all your instruments lined up right, and you got to know their names, because all them different instruments are named for the different surgeons that invented them. Most of them are. Mm-hmm. So basically, you know, he sticks out his hand and he's looking at the surgery. He doesn't want to be searching for something. So he sticks out his hand and says, Wheatlander. You got to know what's a Wheatlander, and you place it firmly in his hand where he's got it, he can use it, you know. And sutures and whatever, you know, the whole procedure. So the good techs get to know the procedures real well. And so, you know, if it's a gallbladder, whatever it can be, they know what comes first, second, third, and they're ready. They're anticipating. They got everything ready to go. So that's the scrub nurse. And then the circulator is the other OR tech, and they do things that are not sterile gown gloves. They're the ones that position the patient, you know, bring them in, position them, get them ready, and bring in supplies and equipment, whatever is necessary for that particular procedure, and take care of things like that. You know, the suction bottle, you have suction going, and the sponge count. When you're doing surgery, you don't want to leave a sponge inside somebody, so you always have a sponge count when you know, you use a sponge and then get rid of it, and we'd have them on a big piece of butcher paper and count them up, and two people would count them together at the end of the procedure and make sure that there's nothing left in there that's not supposed to. So the circulator does things like that. So that's what I was doing TDY up there at Fort Benning. And we had a couple of funny things with that old car. One is that Cheryl was kind of irreverent too. I mean, I was supposed to get out of the surgery, and so she couldn't find a place to park, and she parks right in front of the hospital in the commanding general's parking spot in that big ugly rusty car. And so who do you suppose drives up? In the staff car with the flags. And so she says, well, I decided to play the dumb blonde. And I said, I'll be out of here in just a minute. And the other thing happened was when I was not at the hospital, I was back at the company. And they were going to turn us loose in the evening, and they had a big old field where everybody parked the cars. So here's a whole company of you know, soldiers turned loose, walking across, and she's way in the back. Well, the thing about that old car was it had a starter that would hang up. And so this old sergeant gave me a wire, and he says, well, if the starter hangs up, you take and bridge across it with this wire and you can start it up, right? So I see Cheryl, she's way in the back there, and she gets out of the car, pops the hood, leans in there, starts it. Well, the reason it didn't start that day is because the starter was working fine. The reason it didn't start, she had it in drive. So the old car is going boom, 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 and the hood's going and the door's going. And she's chasing it, you know. Oh my God! And she catches up to the car and gets in, and you know, all these guys, a whole company of people are going, good Lord, did you see that? Wasn't a thing I could do, you know. So I just walked up and got in, gave her a kiss, and said, hello dear, how you doing?
Did she hit you?
No. So that was a fun thing there. Well, I was there 4 months, and sure enough, a levee. I got on a levee. Company clerk told me, says, "You're on a levee. You're going somewhere." Oh, Jesus Christ! So turns out it was Germany, and so we thought, good golly, what luck. Cause anyway, so that's what happened. I got sent to Germany, and
We're in Germany.
the Second General Hospital, close to Ramstein Air Base.
Okay.
It's Landstuhl, Germany. It's the largest, or was the largest military hospital in Europe.
And where in Germany was it?
Landstuhl, Germany.
Landstuhl.
Landstuhl. And we had, all military, all families, and we had government folks like, State Department, CIA folks, anybody that you could have over there. In Europe, that's who we served. And they had all the different specialties, and we had all the surgical specialties, all the different specialties of surgery. And so she was pretty happy, because she had always wanted to go and see the world, and she didn't think she was gonna. And all of a sudden, there we were. So she would study up on things to see and things to do, and when I'd get 2-3 days off, if you pull call 20 around the clock, then you'd get you an extra day. So she'd always have things to go and see. So we got us a little Volkswagen Bug, and we just go all over Europe. We went all over Europe.
Now, how did you travel to Germany?
I don't know, some charter air.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you flew to Germany.
Yeah, and I was over there about a month, and they could hook me up with a ticket for her, and so and they got her over there too.
When you were traveling around, what was the reaction of the local people to you?
Oh, well, let me see. Well, I remember a few things. In France, the French, they don't like anybody if you ain't French.
Yeah.
And so that's the way they are. But really, and I'd be in cities, but I guess they could tell who I was. So sure enough, I had a person say, shit you and your Nixon. Yeah. And but the German people, they're kind of under pressure. They're pressurized people, and everything got to be the right way, and their way is the right way. So, but they were nice to us. We had a nice landlady. We had, nice relations with them.
Did you travel to Berlin?
No, never did go to Berlin. Never did.
Did you go to the border with East Germany?
No. Where we went was we went Netherlands, Belgium, what do you call it? Denmark, Sweden, and up there, up all around there, North Sea. And then we went south to Austria, Vienna, Austria, and Salzburg, Austria, and we went to the Swiss Alps, and we went down into northern Italy, around Lago di Como, and we just saw a lot of stuff. Really enjoyed it. We'd go to museums and art things, and castles and cathedrals and all that type of thing.
What was your favorite place in Europe?
Wow. Well, we really did like Rothenburg real well. We like Amsterdam, Netherlands. Rothenburg's a walled city, and it's all preserved. It's just real like medieval, and they don't let any
damage in the war.
Pardon? No,
Never
no
damage
damage in the war. No, and it's on the Tauber River. It's kind of like north middle, something like that. And we went there several times. One time we went there, and it was a festival, and not only they don't let any modern signs. Everything's all ancient looking, and all the people were dressed up like that too. So we didn't even know what was going on. We happened to just sit there. Oh my God! And once in Bruges, the same thing. Bruges, Belgium.
Yes.
Yeah, it was real beautiful. Bruges was port city, but the river silted up,
Yes.
and so Bruges went to sleep for like, I don't know, 500 years.
Did you go to the Church of St. Mary there in Bruges and see the Michelangelo statue?
Yeah. We did.
Yes.
And oh, good God, we liked a lot of places over there. We did.
How long are you over there?
Just a year and a half. That was into my tour, you know. And,
Now, what's your most vivid memory of Europe?
oh God, I don't know. Well, really, I don't know. I just keep thinking about, you know, the hospital and the job and all the different kinds of surgery that they did.
What type of surgery, what type of cases would you get?
Well, you get, we had every specialty of surgery. We had, you know, general surgery, like gastrointestinal and stuff like that. And we had orthopedic surgery with the bones and stuff. And we had ear, nose, and throat. We had eye surgery. We had plastic surgery, OBGYN procedures. We had genitourinary procedure, any kind of thing, any kind of surgery, we had it. And I never knew exactly how they assigned us to the rooms. You'd come in the morning and you'd be assigned to a room, and then you'd see the procedures that was going to be. And the people that were there overnight on call had been preparing the rolling tables with all the appropriate equipment for that procedure. So you come in and you find out what she's going to do all day. And I don't know how we got assigned, whether the doctor's preference played a part, whether they kind of assigned us by our strengths and weaknesses, or how that exactly worked. But it was a different thing every day.
Now, were you still a scrub tech at this time?
Yeah, I would do both.
Okay.
You would do, you know, you don't know which one you're going to do until you
Scrub
get
tech
there.
or circulator?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it was a good job.
So, when were you in Germany?
Let me see. Oh well, we left Germany in '71 in like September. So going backwards, what is that? That's just, we got there. It was like Christmas time. It was like so September of '70 to Christmas of '69 type thing.
Okay.
Christmas '69 about. Yeah, she came over after Christmas.
Okay. Tell me about coming home.
I'm sorry.
Tell me about coming home.
Oh, well, I told them at UT, you know, that I was coming back and could I please resume, and they said, well, we've redesigned our program while you were gone, and you have to reapply, you know, from starters. So I wrote them a letter that said, well, you know, I didn't choose to leave here, and I'm a Texan, and I'm a voting Texan, and things like that. And so then I got a letter back that said, just come back and we'll work it out. So they give me a little credit for what I had done before, and there we went. And it was kind of like, you think, well, what if I'd been an interpreter? What would that life would have been? Or what if I'd stayed with a surgery? You know, what would that have been? But I was stubborn, and I was like, I started this, I want to finish it.
So you got a master's in sociology?
Social work.
Social work.
Yeah.
Were you?
There was my favorite teacher there was Colonel Bill Hill, William G. Hill. And he had been the first social worker that was assigned to the Pentagon. Yeah. And he was professor there, and we somehow had a connection, you know. I was just a student there, and somehow I got the idea to ask him and his wife over for a meal, and they came. And from then the four of us developed a real nice friendship.
When was the sniper in the tower at UT? When was that?
I wasn't there.
Okay.
I wasn't there. I do not remember exactly when that was.
Okay.
But yeah. Mm-hmm. There were streakers.
So when were you discharged?
Let me see. That was, I asked for early out, and so it was like September of 71, so I could resume the fall semester. And yeah, so it was right there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After you got your master's, what'd you do?
Well, first I went to work for this private residential treatment facility in San Marcos, Texas, mm-hmm. and it's called the Brown Schools. And mentally ill and mentally disabled mm-hmm. Children and teenagers. Mm-hmm. And I was there for about a few months. And the community mental health center system was growing right then. Mm-hmm. Kennedy had created that community mental health center system, and it was like local incentives, local options. If your community wanted one, then you could put up match, and you could draw down federal funds and start your community. Then the deal was they felt, well, warehousing people in the state hospitals was not good for them or anything else, and cost a lot, and so let's treat people in the community. So that's how that started. Mm-hmm. So they were recruiting. From Corpus Christi, Texas, they had a team of folks that were going around the state recruiting people. And so I was too shy to ask to be off of work to go, and I couldn't lie very good. And so I said, well, can I come after 5? They said, yeah, we'll be down there at the Town Lake Holiday Inn. Said, you just come down there, we're in suite so-and-so. So I got down there, and there's a paper on the door that says, we've all gone to the bar. So I went to the bar, and they were partying, and said, well, go get Cheryl in the party. So we thought, my goodness, this is kind of fun.
That's Town Lake in Austin.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sure enough, I got a job down there. We went to Corpus Christi, Texas, and in the Community Mental Health Center.
Now, when are you in San Marcos?
Pardon me?
You said you were in San Marcos.
Oh, that was right after I graduated.
Okay.
And that was the first job I had after I graduated, just for a few months.
What did you do in Corpus Christi?
Well, I started out in the Child and Youth division as a psychotherapist, family therapist. Family therapy was big. And so that's what I did, and for 2.5 years or 3 years or something. And it was kind of exciting, brand new. Everybody's coming together from everywhere and getting a system going. And so then I had a friend that told me, said, well, they're looking for a social worker at the Children's Hospital and pays a lot more than what you're getting. So I applied for that, and I got it.
Where was this?
That was in Corpus Christi too. That was the which one? There's 2 hospitals. Driscoll Children's Hospital, and it was like 2 oil ladies, Clara Wilson, Ada Wilson, and Clara Driscoll, and with oil money, and they both made their hospitals competing side by side. So the job itself was out at Robstown, Texas, which is a little rural railroad hub, agricultural. Used to be a agricultural railroad hub center, but it was like 13,000 people, most all Hispanic and poor, and so my job was to be the social worker for their little outpatient clinic there for children and youth. And they had a WIC program, they had a dentist, they had pediatricians and stuff like that. And it was me and two young ladies that did the social services for them right there. And so that went on for about 5 years, 4.5 years or something, and then they were facing cutbacks. And so then I decided to try to jump back to, the MHMR center that I used to work for over in Corpus Christi.
MHMR?
Mental Health, Mental Retardation Community Center. And they had a little outpost clinic over there in Robstown, and the position was open right there. So I went and applied for that position, and they were kind of skeptical because they said, well, you're white, But I said, I believe I can fit in, I think I can do it. So they hired me, and so I managed that outpatient mental health clinic.
What did you do there?
Well, I did clinical and administrative. I was like the chief cook and bottle washer over there.
What type of the children? What?
Well, this was all people. This was all ages of people with all kinds of mental disabilities, every kind of mental disability, combinations of problems, and and everything. Most of them Hispanic, some black folks, and some white folks. So I had responsibilities for the personnel function and the budget, administration and the building, and did clinical, counseling, psychotherapy, and assist the psychiatrist with the medication clinic. He'd come over once a week and do medication clinic, and psychiatrist time is real expensive, and so you'd want to have your scheduling real good so you utilize his time right, and so that was kind of like herding cats, to get everybody there all the time. And okay, what do we'd go okay, who's up this week? Well, what do we need to assure that these folks will be here at the right time and ready to go? And that's what we would do, whatever it took to get, so that we could utilize that psychiatrist's time. And of course they like that, because if you ain't seeing people, you ain't making money. And
Well, any patients stand out in your memory?
Lots of them.
Who were they? Who were some of them?
Oh, gee whiz. Well, there was one little girl that was very autistic, little Hispanic girl, and she had been adopted by this couple that couldn't get pregnant. They weren't getting pregnant. They adopted this little girl. Come to find out, she was extremely autistic. I mean, just behavioral all over the place. And you never knew what she was going to do. And so we had her in the medication clinic, and they had a fledgling autism program over in Corpus Christi. And she was such a handful, and they didn't want to touch her with a 10-foot pole because it was such a challenge. And it was kind of hard to get them to accept her, but they did, they did. And there wasn't a lot of resource for them at that time, but she got hooked in and started.
Did you work with her?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Well, I remember her mother was a sweet woman, very passive. And I've done this a couple times with two different folks. Well, the deal is, some of these real extreme autistic kids, sometimes you just need to enfold them in an embrace. Because, I mean, they are bouncing off the walls and doing everything, tearing everything up, just like a critter. And sometimes you just have to enfold them in an embrace and just persist until we get some relaxation, you know, and try to show the mom how to do that.
What is autism?
Autism is well, it's, to me, it's very akin with schizophrenia. You know, it's in the same family. To me, it is. But it's you know, it's genetic disorder, and it's kind of hard to describe. They have trouble relating to others. They're in a shell, and they're in their own world. They can't focus their attention very good, and they might become obsessed with any little thing and just be locked in and cued in on that, like that, you know, and then be messing with it.
Yeah.
What else? Well, you get you get different severity with it. Some autistic folks are not verbal, and some of them real strangely get verbal way late in life. You know, like teenagers, they start to learn how to talk or something like that. But I mean, you never know what they're going to do. Run in the street, get hit from a car. Ruby Ann, she went to the mall, and she's in the mall with her mom, and she pulled this lady's tube top right down. You know, so you never know what they're going to do.
Is there any treatment for autism?
Yeah, medication's a big help. You know, neuroleptic medication, and you know, sort of behavioral therapies. Just, you know, very sometimes like in schools here in Bartlesville, they have an autism program, and they'll have an aide, and a lot of times they have kids where they have to be just one-to-one, and they engage them in learning experience just like any kid, but it's like you got to be very present and very right there at every moment.
Where is that school?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anything besides autism?
Oh, we had everything. We didn't have too many people die. We had a few die. We had a young schizophrenic guy that, you know, he had the whole 9 yards. He would hear voices, there's nobody there. He would see visions, there's not there. He had the whole schizophrenia.
What is schizophrenia?
It's genetic. It's in the brain. It runs in families, and it's like the nerve. There's something about the formation of the nerve cells in the brain, and the transmission of nerve impulses from one cell to the next doesn't flow like it does for you and me. So the neuroleptic medication, they take it orally or inject it or whatever, and it goes throughout the body, but a little of it winds up in those nerve synapses, and it helps in the transmission of those nerve impulses. So it cuts down on their, you know, it helps them focus better and be more reality, in contact with reality. So it is you know, the medications are to me are the core of psychiatry. I mean,
you have any physical handicap there, or just all?
Oh yeah, every combination you can imagine. Okay. Yeah. Well, some reason I'm thinking about this. Oh, the guy that killed himself. He was a young Hispanic guy, schizophrenic as could be, and he had such a division within himself that on the one hand he was very religious, and he, you know, really got into his religion. On the other hand, he liked to get drunk as a skunk. So and it crazy, hearing things. And so they had him in the jail, and he hung himself up in the jail, killed himself. Yeah, I guess he got remorseful, after he sobered up. We had one woman that had extreme fibromyalgia, which is, I don't understand it too good. It's something about, it's like very pain throughout the body. And she was married to a very abusive man. And so just a marriage made in heaven. And it's kind of dangerous when you have somebody very depressed and you get them on an antidepressant. Sometimes it's a little dangerous, and they start to feel better, and they feel good enough, and then they go and kill themselves, really. And so we were feeling pretty good about her. She's feeling better, and we're working with her, trying to help her with her life, and she hung herself up on April Fool's Day, But those are pretty rare. I mean, pretty rare for us to have somebody die. Our usual population was about 150 patients usually, at any given month. And a lot of them, you could help them with their medication and help them, and they could, do real well.
How long did you work there?
25 years.
Did you retire from there?
No. From my point of view, it kept getting worse. It was cut the resources, more demand from the people, more customers and more regs. And it just got pretty bad, and I got kind of discouraged, and so one day I'm there and feeling discouraged, and I get this call, and it's from an outfit called Deer Oaks Mental Health Services, and it was a private, and they said, we're looking for somebody with your credential and can speak Spanish. And it was like, I think it was between a third and a fourth more than what I was earning. So I said, well, you know what, I'm going to go for it.
Where was this?
Oh, they were out of San Antonio, but they were looking for a person locally, and that job had like three parts to it. One was a what do you call it? It's like real brief interventions. Businesses would hire you to do maybe 3 sessions with somebody and at least sort out their problem and maybe refer them to something that could help them longer term, or so it was like real brief interventions. And then the other thing, they had a contract with the child welfare system to do family therapy with families with children that were under supervision because of abuse, neglect, and whatever. And then the other part of it was doing psychotherapy in nursing homes, providing psychotherapy for nursing home residents.
Now, is this in Corpus Christi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that for, I think, 7 more years, something like that. Yeah.
When did you come to Bartlesville?
2015.
How'd you come up here?
Well, this is the house Cheryl grew up in. This was her grandparents' house, and well, she finally retired. She's had a couple of careers. One was a chemist, and the other one was an artist. So after our son got in high school, she went to the chemistry, and make some money, for his college and etc. So she did that for quite a few years, and she finally retired. She was 69 and a half, and they actually shut down her section at DuPont. She worked for DuPont then. And they give her a big old severance, and it was a well-paying job anyway, and so she did well, and so her mother had died, and she had this house. She'd had it rented out for 10 years or something, and it got all tore up and made her real sad. And she was like, well, hey, I've got some money here, let's fix up the house. So she got hooked up with John Holloway, and finally he agreed. And so by long distance they worked it out together, how this going to do it, and he would send her pictures, and she, and they'd work together picking things out, and the process took a year, and did just about everything you could do in the house here, and so
now John Holloway is a
he was a builder.
Okay.
And he was the president of the Builders Association at the time here in town, and she told him, I'm looking for help, and he's like, madam, I do new homes, I do upscale homes, and I don't work on little old, he didn't say it just like that, but you know what I mean. I don't work on little old houses. And then he probably thought, in this neighborhood, well, they probably don't have $2. And so anyway, he finally agreed to take a look, and he said, well, I've got a little time here for once in my life. I've got some time, I'll take it on. So they just had a ball, and everything went perfect, and a couple of other things happened. My dear friends moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and so they were my best friends in the world, so I'm like, well, they're going to New Mexico. And then, well, we had some sad memories down there in Corpus, to tell you the truth. My boy, has schizophrenia. My sister has schizophrenia, my dad's mother, and that whole branch is kind of strange. So we'd had hell for 10 years. We'd had from 2005 to 2015, we had hell. I mean, just so we didn't know where he was. He had broken off completely, and so it was kind of like getting away from sad stuff. We didn't know if he's alive or dead. And she was happy with the house, and she was all excited, and she's like, well, let's go move up there, open up a new chapter. And so my friends had gone too, so I said, yeah, well, hell's bells, let's go to Bartlesville. And funny thing happened, he called up right before we were gonna go, and he'd been in the state hospital again, and he said, can I visit? And it was like years that we didn't have any contact whatsoever. And so we said yes, and pretty soon we said, by the way, we're moving. Would you like this house? And he'd been living on the street, he'd been living rough for a lot of years, and he said, well, yes, he believed he would like the house. And
at the house in Corpus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's always been real treatment resistant. He just has always been totally treatment resistant, refused medication. And there's something they call burned out schizophrenic, and that, to me, that means sometimes they get some more maturity and they calm down, and and life gets a little more settled. So, sometimes burned out schizophrenic means, to other people, might mean somebody that's just kind of catatonic, you know. But what it means to me is he wasn't getting arrested, he wasn't getting in trouble, he wasn't going to the hospital and things like that. So he said, yeah, he believed he'd like to live there. And so he still does. Got him 2 cats, and he hasn't been in jail, hasn't been in the hospital, and still won't take any medicine, but he manages his household, keeps it neat, and he's kind of interested in life, you know. He's found some interests. So we're just blessed.
Now, what have you done since you moved up here?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Nothing. No, I just try to make her happy, and I got my dogs. My one dog I inherited from my friend that went to Santa Fe because they couldn't take any. He tried to give me a beautiful thoroughbred mare. You know, she's real high spirited, and I've been riding her for a while for him, and we've made a lot of progress. But financially, I didn't want to take her, and I thought, well, she really needs a younger rider. So he tried to give me that mare, I wouldn't take it, but they finally talked me into taking that bitch. And so I brought her up here, and I was walking her on the Pathfinder one day, and Barney comes up, and he got no collar, he's on the loose, and he follows us home. And he stayed around here a day or two. I said, well, you know, if you want to, you can stay here. You can be my dog. And that was about in 2017. So
What kind of dog is Barney?
some people say he's a Newfoundland, but I'm not sure. I don't know what he is.
Okay.
Maybe a mix of some kind. And but then we found out the thing is, he's an escape artist. I mean, it's not like he wants to get away from you, but he just doesn't like to be hemmed in. He wants his freedom. And he'll see a cat out there, he wants to go talk to it, you know? So he got where he could jump this hurricane fence real good. So he put that chicken wire all around the top. And he found a place over here he could dig under, you know, the fence, and so we had to put up a bunch of cinder blocks over there to keep him. And then he would go over here. It's like a cement footing, and then the hurricane fence. Well, he would squeeze his body in between and get out, you know. And he wouldn't go nowhere much. He'd just mostly stay around here. But so I put electric wire around. When he touches his nose on that, you know, it makes it back up.
Would you join the Army again?
Oh, good God Almighty. Well, goodness knows. You know, I didn't feel good about that whole thing. You know, I really didn't. And I was scared too. I'm not a brave person. I was scared. And but these days, I mean, Christ, you know, you look at what's going on and you think, wow, we need a military.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me a reaction.
Okay.
First one is basic training.
Lonesome.
Medical training.
Fascinating.
Fort Hood.
Oh, God. Well, you know what Fort Hood is. I mean, tattoo parlors and beer joints, and that's all it was. The city of Killeen that's what it was.
D Street.
Yeah.
Fort Benning.
Oh, we liked it. It was good.
Germany.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we loved it. We loved it. Good job, good, life adventures.
Scrub Tech.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Circulator.
Oh, same thing, same thing.
Okay.
All fascinating. I mean, I'd like to be a surgeon, but it's like with some mild learning disability and some attention deficit, that was nowhere in the cards. But I mean, it was something to work alongside those guys and watch them do what they did.
How does this affect you today?
What?
You say your learning disability and...
Oh, well, it's like I've always felt like kind of separate, an outsider, and partially by choice. Because when I was a kid, being strange and being quiet and all that, well, you can imagine you could get beat up. And so it was like kind of painful to be around other kids, and so it's like to be withdrawn in yourself and to take adventures by reading books.
Yeah.
And so so how does it affect me now? I'd say much less than it did before. I guess somehow I've
Yeah. Corpus Christi.
Oh, well, first thing I think about is fishing. It's fun to fish down there. You never know what you're going to pull out of that water.
How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, no. Well, I don't think I'll be remembered by very many people, that's for sure. I'd like to be remembered as a person that, well, my dad was a very religious person, very gentle person, and very religious. And I could go with him part of the way, To me, the thing was Jesus' social gospel, and I've tried to live up to those ideas. Haven't done very good, but I've tried, and but the other part I just couldn't go. To me, it was like hocus pocus and mumbo jumbo. I'm not there. But so I guess I'd like to be remembered as a person that tried to do positive things for other folks.
Well, sir, this is an excellent interview.
Don't lie.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
Oh, I don't want to finish yet.
Okay.
One thing.
Okay.
Here we come up here to Bartlesville, and it's about 2018 or something like that. And the Delaware Indians have their powwow. And we happened to go, and it happened to be Memorial Day, and they happened to have all the veterans, and so they had a lot of people, Vietnam era veterans, and a lot of other veterans, men and women. And then they said, any veterans in the bleachers, come on out and join us. And she goes, go on. And so I did, and that was such a wonderful feeling to shake hands with all those warriors, It was just a wonderful thing.
Well, I want to thank you. And again, today is March 26, 2023. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Robert Bryan in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you.